बलि मांगती काली माँ मुक्ति देगी काली माँ काली माँ काली माँ
Great Caesar's ghost, you gonna wear that outfit into the jungle?
Hello everyone, it is Thursday, May 19th, and my name is Bobby Frankenberger, and you're listening to episode 18 of the Sixth World Podcast. And the executive producer for today's episode is James O'Neill. Thank you, James, very much for supporting the show, and as always, I'm joined tonight by my favorite co-host of all, Cassie Levitt. How's it going, Cassie?
Excellent. Hello, good sir.
Hi. I'm feeling like I'm in a really good mood today.
It's a good day. You should be.
Yeah, I think it is a great day. We've got an excellent guest for us to talk about our newest book to talk about, Forbidden Arcana. Our guest today's freelance author who's done many things you have read in the various source books that we like to read about Shadowrun. He's also the author of the Shadowrun novel Crimson. Kevin Czarnecki, welcome to the show for the third time.
It is always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. You are officially our most frequent guest.
I gotta show up more often then because I enjoy that.
Yeah. You enjoy being on the show, or you enjoy having the accolade?
Both. And you gotta have one to have the other, so you know.
Oh, fair enough.
I'll take it.
Fair enough. Again, Forbidden Arcana. I guess it's a thing now that every time a book comes out, everyone's gonna love and hate it. So I won't mention it. You know, I was gonna say some people love it, some people hate it, and it's controversial. But that's just a thing now for us. That's just the way things are. But I'm excited to talk about it. But let me remind everybody that after every episode, for those of you listening live, hello, chat room, Twitch chat room. For those of you who are here, we always like to have our guests hang out and do a little bit of Q&A after the show and with us. So if you're going to hang out for the after party, make sure you got some questions to ask, and we'll do that after we're done with the show proper. But before we jump into everything, we got some new patrons. I often forget to do this, but I'm not doing it this time. I'm not forgetting. Our new patrons are David Dashifen Kees and Paul Vandeventer. I like that last name.
Dashifen Kees? That's fun.
Yeah,
I like
both of these names are really good,
Yeah.
aren't they?
I'm gonna put
Paul
that in the random name
Vandeventer.
generator.
Yeah.
That is Paul Vandeventer is
Paul Vandeventer.
That's a Johnson name, right?
Yeah.
there.
That's a good. Yeah, you're
I
right.
feel like
Paul.
a doctor, right? Dr. Paul Vandeventer.
Dr. Paul Vandeventer,
Yeah.
inventor of the new SenseLink prototype. Paul, you might be in a book.
Yeah, that is.
That's
Really?
that's how it happens.
I was thinking more like a member of the Atlantean Foundation. We're off discovering great artifacts. Or yeah.
Yeah.
Sheila Blavatsky is all like, find me Paul Vandeventer. For the record, I have no idea what she sounds like, but when you hear like Blavatsky or whatever, you're like, bring me that man.
Right, exactly.
So Mother's Day happened. Did you guys all say Happy Mother's Day to your mothers?
Every day's Mother's Day.
Oh, thanks.
And,
Thanks for one-upping me. Thanks for doing that.
I got sick. I got to take her out like soon because I got sick.
Yeah, we went to visit some family. I decided to go running again finally. While we were there too, which is a good thing. Uh-oh, I forgot to tell you guys before we started the show that I'm here alone and my child might start crying. So let me mark the audio so I can edit this out later, and I'm gonna go run and put her back to bed. You guys enjoy each other's company. I'll be right back.
Those of you who are live streaming, this is the reality behind the scenes.
Yeah, this is what we do here. Yeah.
This is the gritty, the
right.
cyberpunk behind the scenes.
Chat, we need a topic. Like, remember the little sign? I'll give you a topic.
Rhode Island, neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
Discuss.
I could lament about the sad state of voiceover. I just came from a convention and I was horribly deflated by an experience.
What experience was this good, sir?
Nowadays,
If we can discuss it with everyone.
yeah, a lot of voiceover professionally it's hard to break into because there's a limited amount of work and an incredible number of people who want to get in on it.
Yep.
And some studios, I won't name names or anything, but some studios, like especially out in California or wherever, sometimes they have a tendency to see that there's a lot of people who enthusiastically want to be a part of it, and they capitalize on that.
Right.
And there was like an open audition thing where I was, and it was just kids in cosplay going up and and I'm like, oh, this is not professional.
Wasn't there a strike by, I think, the Voice Actors Guild like last year? I think?
Yes. But well, it's part of SAG-AFTRA.
Not that helps that, but yeah.
we're folded in with other actors. But card-carrying member since 2013. But they it's hard to like say there will be no voice acting. It's more like we're boycotting this company, or we're boycotting this kind of work, or this subsection of the industry. That's why you might not have voiceover for video games for a few months, but you're still going to get new McDonald's ads.
Gotcha.
All right, I'm back. Okay, let me mark back in, and then we'll be doing it again. Before I do that, remind me what I was saying before I left. Oh, I was about to talk about running. Okay.
Yeah, you saw your mom and you ran.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm marking. And we're back. That's what happens when you are a stay-at-home dad and live podcasting, is that sometimes these things happen. But they had some good talk without me. And if you want to hear what they talked about, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/sixthworldpodcast and get the extended episode. I went down to hometown where our family is for Mother's Day, as you do, and decided to go running. I haven't been running since like before Christmas because I think I broke my foot, but I didn't go to the doctor. I just let it take care of itself. That'll be a problem probably in about 10 or 15 years, but I'm not worried about it right now.
Hopefully we'll have cyber by then.
Right, exactly. So I'll be on board for that. But anyway, so getting exercise was good. I went past the reason I bring this up is because I went running when I go down home. I do go running. I go running up to my old high school and back, and so I went up there, and I my headphones I always listen to podcasts, right? My headphones aren't working though, so I had to be that annoying guy who's listening to a loud podcast from his phone strapped to his arm while he's running. And I was running through the high school, and there were all these people gathering to do stuff, and I was listening to this comedy podcast, and they started talking about like buttholes, and I think they were talking about like scrotums and stuff. Right as I was running through a high school, like 30-something-year-old dude, and before that I had just like taken a video of myself talking, so I had my camera out with like the video going, and it was really felt like it was uncomfortable. So, but it motivated me to keep running to get out of there.
Good.
And here's a big speed burst. We're gonna sprint here. We're gonna sprint. 9 more seconds. Good.
Also, I have to say that ever since our last episode, when I told everybody that I drink Bud Light, you wouldn't believe I've been getting a lot of crap for that. And I just want to tell everyone to get over it. I drink Bud Light, and I do it on the regular.
It could have been old style.
And deal with it. But like my... just coincidentally, my wife got me as an early Father's Day present, because we never make it to the prescribed holidays. As an early Father's Day present, she got me one of these like homebrew Mr. Beer homebrew kits. So there you go. I'm brewing beer at my house. So deal with that.
So
guys.
Now we know what happened to you when you vanish.
Right. Yeah. That was bad beer. What's been going on with you, Cassie, since our last episode?
Playing Shadowrun. Got to go to Austin, meet some people at the Chupacabra. That was
Awesome.
cool. Read Forbidden Arcana. I think that's about it.
Do we know anybody? I feel like I know someone else went to Chupacabra.
Rusty did.
Yeah, did you meet up with Rusty
And
there?
Osley. Yeah, Rusty and Osley, we met up with them.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Fun stuff. Well, let's move on to some news.
Well, news today.
All right. So, real quick, some news before we move on to our Q&A part of the show is we talked about it last time that we're going to have the Origins episode that we're going to be doing at Origins. It's going to be, just wanted to remind people who might be going to Origins, and also for those who do listen live and whatnot, that it'll be on Friday, June 15th at a 10 p.m.-ish. It'll probably be a little bit later, but we have the Catalyst. We've talked to some people there, and we've got use of the Catalyst room, game room they're going to be using after hours. So it's supposed to end at 10. We'll probably end up, hopefully we'll start setting up before then, but we might not be allowed until around about 10. So I'll keep everybody abreast of the news, hopefully on Twitter, if I'm not running around like crazy and forget about it. But 10:30 maybe is when it'll be, but it'll be on the podcast feed nevertheless if you miss it or can't listen. If you're going to be at Origins, you should definitely be there. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We got a big announcement to make, and that's going to be cool. It's going to be live. Cliff, or rather Mr. Johnson, as probably most of you known by Mr. Johnson of the Arcology podcast, Damian of the Violent Life podcast, and hopefully Opti of the Neo Anarchist podcast are all going to be our guests for that episode, sitting in front of us. It'll be fun. Also, I just got informed, I'm breaking this, is that on Gen Con, I was just informed that our Shadowrun podcasters panel is officially going to happen. There wasn't really any doubt that it was going to, but I
mean, you say that, but we were supposed to have one at Origins too,
well,
and you
fair
saw that
enough.
went. Yeah.
So yeah, get with it, Origins, because Gen Con's already told me that we got it, and we have a bigger room than last time. Instead of just 80 people, we can have 100. Basically, It just means that it's a little bit longer. But that's going to be on August 18th at 7, starting at 7 p.m., go to 9:30 p.m. I actually booked us for a 2.5-hour time slot instead of 2 hours because we were kind of rushing ourselves last time to get within the 2-hour slots. I didn't want us to be rushed out of there like we were last time. So if you guys, it'll be in the events when you can check out the catalog and the event for Gen Con. The event is in there. It's under Shadowrun Podcasters Panel. I should get a link to that and put it in the show notes, but it'll be up there. You can sign up for events on May 28th, I believe, and it's going to be Crown Plaza, Grand Central Ballroom D. But if you're going and you're signing up for it, whatever, it's going to be there. We'll mention it more times. It's in August, so there's plenty of time.
I don't know. You've kind of mentioned a lot right now. I think we're good.
I
we
think
covered
I
it.
reached my quota. I think I'm not allowed to mention it anymore.
We'll mention it again later.
Yeah, so just wanted to let people know about that. But Q&A time. So every episode we do questions that people send us, and we're going to do a couple today. People send them to us through our website, and primarily that's sixthworldpodcast.com. There's a contact form thing on there. You can fill out and send us a question. But if you also want to tweet at us at the number 6 World Podcast, you can do that. Or email us at the show at 6 World Podcast as well. If you want your questions to have priority, all of our patrons get priority, so consider that. First up, speaking of, is Keith King. He's got a question. Patron Keith King asks, "Hey guys, loved hearing Cliff last week." Yes, we love having Cliff on. I'll skip to the question. He said we were doing an awesome job on the podcast, but he said, "Given this week is about magic, I have an aura question. Mainly, how far does an aura extend past the body? As a GM, I rule that full body armor would still have a bit of aura extending past it. But what about a rigger in his cocoon, or the mystery figure in thick robes, or even the ganger leaning on the closed door in front of your Bandersnatch in the thick bushes / behind a tree in front of you? Where would you draw the line for an automatic success?"
So the podcast won't see it, but anybody who watches the video, you can see Kevin just did, like, he measured it for you. So you just want to check in. Yeah.
Well, it could just be as deep. Some people say it's as deep as your skin. People say it's like a hand span around you.
Sure.
My example that I added in is always the distance of a breath. So if you're just normally exhaling, which would be, about a little bit less than a hand span maybe. So
That's
full
good.
body armor.
That's poetic. I like that.
Yeah, you like that because you're exhaling, right? It's your life force.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. It's your personal. You're in my space.
Your personal space. Yeah, your personal space.
You're in my aura. You're in my aura zone.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
I can.
Hold your hand out, exhale, and about where you can last feel it. That'd be about your aura. In which case, clothes and full body armor, all of that stuff would easily your aura would stick out of that. Versus a cocoon or something's more vehicle,
Right.
or a wall would be a little more solid.
Yeah. I definitely always say that, if you've got some sort of an armor that you're wearing, it's always going to go beyond that. He asked a question about, like, in bushes and stuff like that, and I don't want to glaze over that because that brings up a different point, which talks about, like, when would it be an automatic success to notice a person, like, who's hiding or concealing themselves in the bushes or something like that. And the way you want to think about things like that, I guess we'll use bushes as a specific example. The way you want to think about that is that bushes also have an aura, right? It's a living thing. So a perception test in astral space, someone can hide in the bushes. They can. You're still going to be able to detect their aura, but much the same way, I think of that much the same way as you would be as if you were trying to see a person hiding in real life bushes. You're just going to, they have an astral existence, just like your aura has an astral existence. So you're just going to be doing some sort of a perception test in astral space to notice them.
Yeah,
it's a different aura. Oh, sorry, please.
Yeah. No, I was to say, mechanically, if you look at the underwater stuff and run and gun, I think it's a -2 to sense things in sea life because of that reason. There's so much other life around.
Mm-hmm.
But also keep in mind that thematically it would be like buying probably one hit to determine if it's a bush or a person's aura. So, and most mages, if they haven't skimped or aren't taking big penalties, can probably buy one hit.
Exactly.
So,
you're not. I mean, a person's aura looks different from a bush's aura because a bush doesn't have feelings as strongly about things. A runner is like, I don't want to be seen. I'm sneaking. I got to get paid. Oh God. A bush is like, I'm a bush.
Right. Cassie, you can see that you've got the notes open with the next question, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you read that question and you guys talk about it? I'm going to deal with my child again and hopefully not cut out this portion of it. So you guys take over. I'll be back.
All right. Well, I didn't quite want to ask Kevin about this because it's kind of your work, but we'll go into it. Chris wants to know, Catalyst has been doing a great job with source books. Why has it been so difficult to get new novels out? And I kind of threw it out there. My guess, not having any connection to Catalyst, was it probably has a lot to do with, I don't think the Catalyst team is, if you look at the core group who actually does production, it's probably not super big. And that's a question of just time and money, right? Even if it's their time and... they're a little more profitable probably than the novels.
John Helfers is the guy to ask about this because that's his department. They're pressuring me to write a novel right now. As a matter of fact, last Gen Con, I cornered John and was like, "Hey, can I pitch you a novel while we walk through Artist Alley?" He's like, "Yeah." I pitched it, and he's like, "Well, now you have to write it." I'm like, "Oh, I just wanted this to happen."
There you go. There's your answer, Chris, because Kevin is slow to write it. No.
There's more novels. There's more novels coming. The reason that they're slower is because they take a lot longer to write unless you're Rusty. Rusty cranks that stuff out at a speed that fills me with wrathful envy. If I didn't love him so much, I'd hate him. But yeah, mostly the novels don't come out because they take a lot longer to write. They're a lot more intensive, both in terms of research and there was a time where you could write the novels in sort of just, hey, this takes place in Shadowrun, I'll just write a book. Now they really like it to link into the meta plot. Yeah. So we have to want to write upwards of 80,000 words about one story that links into meta plot. So it can get a little tough to do, especially with the schedules that we have. So yeah. Plus, a lot of the people who are writing the novels are also writing source books. You know?
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
you're producing half a novel, half of the smallest possible novel in a month or something of a source book while you're writing a novel. It's a lot of word count, and frankly, we don't make an awful lot of money, so we have jobs too.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know if you
This-
guys mentioned this, but my first thought when I saw this question was that there are multiple people writing a source book.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's
like
a very
we just
collaborative effort.
Forbidden Arcana was 200 something pages, but Kevin's novel Crimson was also almost 300 pages. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
We look at them from the perspective of word count. Your average chapter in a source book is anywhere from 10,000 to 12,500, whereas a novel's 80 minimum.
Yeah. So how many
minimum.
people? But and like pure numbers, like it's like a dozen, 2 dozen people work on a source book versus maybe less than 5 on a novel if you count like an editor, and then whoever put it through production and
I mean, if you count the writer, one,
one.
and then you've got the editor,
Yeah.
and then you've got the rewrites, and then after that, I don't know who works on it.
Yeah, so you may be looking at, let's say, 5 people or less, or maybe a little more through publishing versus the source book, which has all the writers and the production guys, and it's a team. So.
Plus with source books, we're kind of handed an idea of, we need a chapter that's about this stuff. We need a chapter about this stuff. A novel, you're like, I'm gonna write a book about this.
yeah, right.
You know, so
Yeah, exactly. So of course it's
uh,
gonna be different and
plus
more
we
difficult.
don't have a lot of outsiders who come in going, I've got a Shadowrun novel idea, and a lot of ones, and some of the ones we get are, you know, people who, you know, their hearts are in the right place, but they might not quite have their chops honed. I mean, Crimson was my first published novel, and it was almost like 75% serendipity that it happened at all.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, it's if we had a lot of like, you get Michael A. Stackpole who says, yeah, I felt like writing a Star Wars novel. And they're like, well, of course we'll publish it. You're Michael A. Stackpole.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If he showed up and said, I feel like writing a Shadowrun novel, I imagine Jason and John and co would just be like, yeah,
Right.
of course.
right. So
But we haven't heard from you, Michael.
but so it's certainly the novels are more challenging, so there'll be fewer and far between. So
And keeping in mind too, it is a game company, so you guys are set up to do the gaming stuff, where the novels is something that gets added on extra. Which,
I'd really like to see the audiobooks start happening, but
I would love audiobooks. I would read so many more of them.
I am campaigning to have them done. I am personally campaigning to read them, at least my own.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
To be a voice actor
We lost him.
book would just
there he goes.
be
Okay.
like just
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah, that would be.
Well, especially for like Shadowrun, how many people do the podcasts and all of that? You have a giant audience of audio people out there who would dig it.
I think there's an audience, and I think there's a very real market, but we got to convince the corporate side of Catalyst that it's worth
fair.
doing.
I'll
And
put
hopefully
myself
they'll
out there, guys. I'll read one on the cheap.
I'll read them. Yep.
All right.
I love audiobooks.
I'd think about it.
Kevin, he's got higher standards than that. All right, moving on. I'm experimenting with different bumpers. That one is Q&A is over, and we're moving on to the main topic, of course, Forbidden Arcana, the book that just came out, the billing itself as an advanced magic source book, which we now have kind of 2 advanced magic source books, which brings me to my first question to ask you guys, which is, before that question, holy dreck,
Wait, holy shit, there's an index.
Yeah,
I want that to be noted. That is the number one thing in the notes.
That is the first item in my notes here is oh my god, seriously, there's an index. Mr. Johnson is going to be excited about it. Yes, there are 4. Well, there's only 3 exclamation points, but it would have warranted a 4. But yeah, there's an index at the end, which is awesome because there's a lot of cool stuff that you should be able to pull up quickly. But so my first question that I want to ask you guys to get us rolling here is there's already an advanced magic source book. Do we need another one? Why do we have another one? I mean, a lot of people have been asking this question. I'm not trying to stoke any coals here or anything, but did we need one, or was this there's just some really cool stuff that was begging to be explored, you know?
I'll take this.
Go, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I think we're waiting for you, buddy. Yeah.
All right. First off, we're in the 5th edition of a game that has had incredible development over the years. I mean, I'm only slightly older than Shadowrun, so it's had as much time to mature as a human. It's got complexity. It's got a lot of crazy stuff and a lot of stuff that we've developed over the years. And every single book that comes out, we get the fans going, "Why didn't you say more about this? Why didn't you say more about that? How come you guys haven't talked about this?" And I can hear people like silently going, "Technomancer, Technomancer, Technomancer."
Well, that's the elephant in the room, right?
That's not my department, so I'm with you. Yes, I would love a Technomancer book.
Sure.
But think about how much stuff people have been demanding. We've only got a limited page count. There's only so much room we can jam into stuff and keep the books as affordable as they are. And it's tough running an RPG company. And making a living. So there's we make more books because people have a demand for more stuff.
Right.
And what's more, we have to kind of condense setting into advanced books as well, and meta plot, moving it all forward, because it's not like the old days where you could just write an entire book about a place because people don't buy them, which is heartbreaking to me. Like, every single freelancer wants to write a book about what's in your kitchen, what's it like to live on the streets, what's the setting, and people say they want it, but the sales numbers don't support it.
Right.
And you've got a thriving population on Reddit who's like, protest, pirate all the books.
Yeah.
That's really helping, guys.
Yeah. And I wanna get into some of the more to some about what actually is in the book. But Cassie, you said something interesting in the Twitch chat just now. So tell me, you were saying something about how this book feels different than Street Grimoire, which was the last advanced magic book.
Yeah, so they're both advanced magic books. That's, I mean, hands down obvious. What's the big difference? And I would actually really love to do a fully magic campaign where you just use the 2 of them and run around. But I felt like reading it, Street Grimoire for me is loaded with stuff that I can use as a GM and has a lot of mechanics for the GM, like with the mana storms and all that. Where Forbidden Arcana was much more player focused. It's about
with a
the character I create and qualities and traditions, and
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think, like, I can't think of really anything that was purely like game master focused. It felt like almost everything was more something a player was going to bring into the game.
Sometimes we'd love to make a game master book.
Right. Well, I mean, like the mana storms and Farvas and background counts were all in Street Grimoire. Even like blood mages and toxic shamans, which are traditionally going to be more NPCs, were in Street Grimoire. Were so much more. Forbidden Arcana was all stuff that really a player is going to bring into the game. Actually, a game master may use it making an NPC, but it's typically going to be something more that. That's how I felt about most of it.
Right.
It wasn't until I got toward the very back of the book I even really felt like I had a lot of plot hooks or anything like that I was going to actually use to write new runs. A lot of it at the beginning was much more, what it looks like when somebody casts a magic spell, which is cool, and I'll use that in my descriptions, but it doesn't really inspire me to write a run revolving around it.
Right.
I felt like... Well, I'll address that in a quick second. I felt like Street Grimoire was meant to talk about the stuff that we couldn't fit into the core book, because the core book is
definitely
huge, and we didn't cover like half the stuff that's out there. Yeah. So Street Grimoire was a chance to finish talking about the stuff we hadn't gotten a chance to give its proper due. But, you know, Streakamore brought up as many questions as it answered. And then, you know, players, as always, want more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's the odds are when you buy a book, a lot of people are like, well, I only want to buy a book if it's got lots of new toys. Well, all right. We'll give you a lot of toys.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah, it's massive amount of crunch, which is fantastic. And it did add a lot of stuff that I saw people regularly asking for, like the Olympian like traditions, right? Like all the Roman gods and Greek goddesses, like that stuff people have been asking for forever. And there it is. There's your tradition in there.
I was hanging out with Dylan yesterday, and we were discussing some of the stuff that happened while this book was being made. Like he was the one who handled bringing magic bullets, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But he tried to work in a bit of plot hook in that, where it's like you can't just buy that. You have to learn that from one of the very few people who knows how, which is a run unto itself, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah. It's so let's take that. Let's go in, use that as kind of like a hold on. Here we go again. Hold on. I'm going to mark. We're going to jump right into talking about something like that when I get back because
Okay, me and Kevin will talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
But yeah, it's we really just got to expand on what we thought was possible for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I'm thrilled to see that alchemy got a huge shot in the arm. You know,
I like the smallest. That was my favorite chapter for a lot of reasons. Because again, I'm more interested in like lore and plot hooks, and the alchemy section had a lot of that in it. And I really appreciated the tie-ins to like Howling Shadows. So, like, here's the reason you go hunt this thing. Here it is. Like, we need this. Like, I love in D&D, it says like the reagent essentially you need, the component you need, and all of that stuff was added in the back of that section. I love it.
Like, I want to make a +1 sword. Well, go hunt a rock.
Yeah, we're gonna go find
feather.
things. Yep, yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. I can't wait. Our next campaign or little missions that I write is gonna be fighting killdeer. So everyone expect for that. Like, I'm gonna teach them how to murder people with killdeer. Like,
because nothing says Shadowrun like that.
Yeah, like a radiation mutated deer, right? I think that's what they are.
Yep.
I just like that they have impersonation. That is fantastic. Are they impersonating normal deer, or are they impersonating metahuman hunters?
That's a chicken and egg question.
All right, I'm back. Again, this will probably happen, as you can tell, maybe more than once again. Sorry about that for those listening live and for you two. That's what happens when I'm doing this by myself. Wife is.
You have our support.
I guess Cassie's somewhat used to it. I have to do it all the time when we record our actual plays, and my wife's never here when we do those. So, anyway, let me catch my bearings.
I would like you to redo this episode to note that I am the host and you are the co-host for this one. So you keep leaving.
Yeah. Let's see. We were talking about magic bullets, and I was going to use that to go into just all... Okay, got it. I'm back on track.
Springboard.
All right, what are we going for? What's our next question?
Here we go. Okay, so we use that as sort of a transition, the magic bullets thing, to talk about what are the different new things you can do that are neat and quite different. I mean, there's a lot of new stuff that comes with this book, but there's a lot of things that kind of throw things on its head, and I'm beating around the bush about blood magic, which we should get to soon because that's a big thing to talk about. But let's start ease into it and talk about this. Bullets have always been one of those things that everybody wants to do, but it's always like, shaking your finger like, you can't do that, and there's a reason. It has to do with like how the triggers work and how the linchpins work, and it'll do the bullet gets scratched and all this kind of stuff, and that's why you have archers who do their thing. And what are you about to say, Cassie?
As the near 200 karma alchemist in the room, I didn't really find it that crazy because you still have to activate it before you fire it. It's not like you fire it and then it hits. versus my arrows I can fire and then they activate on impact.
Right. So to
it's-
give a little bit of context for maybe people who haven't
Sorry,
read the
if you
book.
haven't read it, yeah.
Yeah, there's a new thing.
Spoilers.
Yeah. You can now, in the new book, it's going to allow you, it provides rules for using alchemy to actually use bullets as linchpins, to put spells, or, really, to be accurate, you're not really putting spells on the bullets, you're putting magical effects, because it's very limited, which I like.
And specialized. You do have to take you have to train to be a armor alchemist. I think it's what alchemist armor. Yeah.
And that training is super hard to get.
Yeah. So you're.
That's going to be
a self-funded
the thing you
Shadowrun.
do.
Yeah. You're not Mr. Johnson. If he sends you to get these people, screw Johnson. Just take them.
Right.
And I didn't feel like any of the effects were hugely game breaking. Like you can make hand loaded ammo and get slightly bigger benefits or other things, So it was, and like I said, you have to activate them before they're shot. So it's not like you're getting a free extra thing by just firing. And I think they have to be single shot weapons, right? So you're only going to do it from revolvers and stuff. It's very niche enough that I don't feel like it's breaking the game. So I'm not sure why people were so excited.
Your street Sam is not going to load an LMG with spirit killing bullets. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're not loading an automatic assault rifle and they all have a bonus to each of the 10 rounds that go out of it.
But if you've always wanted to be a magic gunslinger, why wouldn't we give you that?
Right.
But we got to make it.
That's good.
We got to make it fit. So,
exactly, and I think that people are excited because this is a cool thing to do. But maybe you're talking about people are excited in the negative way. I deliberately, when a new book comes out, don't look at any of the threads on Reddit because I don't want to get frustrated. I just want to read the book. I also don't want to. The criticisms that I want to have for the book, I want to develop on my own and not be too skewed by people.
Oh, I don't even know what the criticisms were. I just know that was one of the first things somebody threw out there was "Oh my God, bullets! You're an alchemist. What do you feel about this?" And I'm like, man, it's. I think the story in Drawing Destiny that's really fun, where the woman uses the barrel of a gun as a linchpin for a silence spell. That's cool. So I'm excited that this could kind of be somewhat used similarly. I like that thematics of it, but it wasn't it's not breaking the game. It's just cool.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to find the chart for it because there is a whole chart that explains how it works. Here it is. It's called. I'm not going to go through. If you want the rules, get the book. Okay. I'm not going to give you the rules per se, but I wanted to point out that it's a spell called Alter Ballistics, and it allows you to. That's what you put on the bullet. It's called Alter Ballistics, but it doesn't just. So that's the spell that you're using alchemy to put it on the bullet. But what the spell does is it has these there are a list of 8 different effects that it can have, and what you do is you order them in the order. Before you do it, you order them in the order that you would like them to be placed on there, and the number of hits determines how you go down that list of priority, and the number of hits you get determines which ones get put on. Like if you get 4 or something like that, I can't remember exactly, but you go down the list, and one of the cool things is that if you get all the way down the list, actually, if you do too good, it looks like it makes if. One of the effects is that it makes barriers that the bullet strikes actually stronger, so it's less likely to penetrate a barrier. Did you notice that? Anybody?
I don't remember now. I kind of read over it and just kind of skipped through it. It's not something I plan to use.
And maybe I'm interpreting this incorrectly, but like I said, one of them is the effect is frangible, and it says treat any barrier the ammo hits as if its armor were twice normal. So it's pretty it's you don't want to do it's kind of almost you don't want to do too well on this. I just see it as kind of a weird kind of, I don't know, it's a funny weird thing, and I haven't put it into play, so I don't know exactly.
Is that the only thing it does?
Yeah, that effect, yeah. So
I could see a theoretical use for it. But then again, I know players who are like, why would I buy any ammo that isn't armor piercing?
Right.
Why would I buy non-explosive ammo? Maybe you don't want to blow people up.
right? Because you have GMs like me that if you use explosive ammo all the time, show up with an HCR team and end you because you're too lethal and they don't like that, right? Like, it's about balance.
I
About
guess maybe
balance.
that
There's-
effect could be used to make your lethal ammunition less lethal. So, but
I mean, you could have drones or something too. You don't want to blow up. You just want to electrocute. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'm sure
you're right,
there's
you're right.
some imaginative ways you could come up with it.
I could see that being added to something where it's like, I just want to tase him. I don't want to shoot him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Or
No. It delivers a lightning shock, but it
Right.
doesn't like pierce the skin. Something. I don't.
and there's also, if you're shooting through a barrier and you don't have sight on the other person, they don't get a defense test, so it's all soak. So you may want the barrier to get a little extra armor, so you're not immediately killing them in one shot.
right,
So there could be things.
right. So,
Yeah.
and that's just one little tiny part of everything. I don't want to dwell on it too long. But Cassie, I want you to talk about what your favorite part is before I talk about what my favorite chapter was. While I go deal with dad problems again. I'll be right back.
All right, well, I don't know if we stopped it last time. So, because I just talked last time. I don't know what this episode's going to be anymore. I'm sorry, guys. Well, if I didn't mention it on camera, per se, my favorite part, as I was telling Kevin, is probably like the little reagent hooks in the alchemy book. That, not even for alchemy itself, but just for like that as me as a game master now as motivation to do more critter runs, Sealy Court runs, and various other things. Because it says like a required component for certain alchemic effects, and so you need that component. So it's great motivation for an alchemist to hire runners to go kill something. Which in Street Grimoire, to me, I love the alchemic profession, the Talismongers Guild, love the fluff behind that, because it gives runners to have to use like their non-typical skill, right? You're not using your automated weapon to do that. You're using maybe just a club or a knife, something simple, right? Like,
Yeah, I've always liked
nice to mix it up.
talismongers. I've always loved
Yeah.
talismongers, and I love the idea of them hiring runners. But there's never been like a specific chart.
It's
That's
it's a
something.
super specific plot hook. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's I mean,
Also, in the same chapter, right in the same round, the other thing I really love is that you actually gave a formula for buying alchemic preparations from like a talismonger. It's in there, so it's like what, force times something, and
Yeah,
that's
that was
what you
really
pay if
good.
you want to find it.
I like
That
that.
was fantastic. It
I
was,
all of us tried to focus a little bit more on putting actual price ranges on stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
that raises a
There's-
question that I had from my notes then. When are we ever going to get a price for orichalcum? I always have to like reach back to old editions. How much does orichalcum cost?
wait, do you? Isn't it? It's straight up in. It's in there,
Isn't it?
I don't think
isn't
so.
it? I'm pretty sure it is, because I've done the math before. Because I had $1 million chess set made out of that crap one time.
I believe I believe maybe 4th edition had some.
No, right there. It's 140,000 new yen Orcium Dram. It's in Street Grimoire and Shadow Spells.
You know what? Maybe
in two
that's where
different
I
places,
found
buddy.
it. Maybe that's where I found it, and I thought I found it in 4th edition. Okay, I take
Yeah.
back
I mean,
my
it might be in-
criticism.
Might be in 4th edition too. I just know that it's there.
I take back my
It was
criticism.
definitely in fourth.
I gave a bunch of Shadowrunners like $1 million worth of stuff just to see if they would rob the Johnson.
Well, my first actual play that I did on YouTube, I didn't realize I didn't realize what I was doing, and I gave as sort of like a reward, they were able to loot some aqua regia that has orichalcum dissolved in it, but you can distill it out, and that was a mistake after I found out how much money they got for that.
Well, I mean,
Fun.
I remember back in 3rd edition, just sitting around goofing off, like back when I was just a humble player, but I was trying to figure out what's more expensive than orichalcum. And I started like calculating exotic reagents that would be technically worth more than pure orichalcum. Because back then there was wild orichalcum because of the comet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, like I found a few things that were technically worth more than orichalcum, and they were like naturally occurring exotic rubies and dragon nail clippings and stuff like that. That's why there was that whole war in the Carib League over who's the head voodoo guy from Dunkelzahn's Will.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'll
Yeah,
give you a
use nail
year's
clippings. Yeah.
give you a year's worth of my talon clippings if you figure out who's the lead voodoo guy.
So-
and everybody went,
So since we're on the subject of orichalcum, let's talk about. There's a lot of cool alchemy stuff that happened in this book. I know that Mr. Johnson, who plays an alchemist in our actual play, is going to be excited about this. There's lots of cool reagents. That's one thing that really jumped out at me right away was the cool new reagents like drop bear saliva and
yeah, that's why we were talking about when you keep running away. I've twice talked about one of my favorite parts was that it specifies exactly that kind of stuff that then you can go hunting on like different shadow runs together, that kind of thing.
I like those reagents and the new like compounds you can make and the new items and stuff because they seem to me like cool rewards that you can give your like loot rewards you can give your players too.
It's exactly what I was thinking.
On the one side, I don't like kind of the mechanics behind some of the fancy reagents because I feel like it diminishes like the drain mechanic. But I do appreciate that it gives mages something to spend their money on because anyone who's played a mage for a long time are like, I have millions of Nuyant and nothing to do with it because I'm a mage.
That's an excellent point. And
I do appreciate that.
Just because these reagents exist, they're not exactly. Yeah, I know I'm gonna have to run in a second. But these reagents aren't exactly like easy to get or refine. So,
not without a lot of money.
And
yeah,
not well, and that's fair, and that's to Cassie's point about having something to spend your money on.
Yeah, we still talk about the old paradox where it's like a street Sam can afford to be good at everything because all their special abilities derive from buying more stuff to put into themselves and more gear. Whereas a mage, I mean, they kind of just have Nuyen piling up because they are weapons. They spend all their karma on being better at being mages, so it's harder for them to be better at other stuff as well without diluting their primary role in the party.
Right.
So we're trying to make more karma sinks for skill-based characters and more money sinks for special ability focused characters.
Right.
You know, bring a little more option and balance.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's talk about blood magic. Why don't you go ahead and get the ball rolling with that, and I'll be back. This is a fun episode, guys.
I'm gonna reload this thing here, so let's just take a 2-second break.
Let's do that. I'll go ahead and mark and take care of that.
I'll be right back. You're the only professional here, Cassie.
I know. I'll be your guys talking in chat. When anything you want to talk about in chat, I'll be here. Though I should leave too. I gotta get okay.
Taking all the calls.
Yeah. Also, can we comment how Kevin's got a tie on? Let me see how it's there in the camera. See that tie? He's all dressed up like he's a waiter or something. It's a day job. What do you think, guys? Anywho, what does someone else want to talk about? I'm just sitting here by myself now. Alone. It's quiet. Anyway, well, let me ask you guys in chat next. I need to write a new Shadowrun. What are you guys interested in? What do you want to run about? Do you want one that's based on Forbidden Arcana? I was thinking about doing a space run. I've got a corporate job that I was thinking about running. There we go. We'll get back to that topic. Yes, I play aspected mages. Currently, my aspected mage is about almost 170 karma. She is an enchantress. I went the enchanting group totally. Is it difficult? No, it's not difficult if you make human or orc or something like that. My last one I made was a troll. Naturally, that's fucking difficult because #troll stuffs. But no, aspected mages are fantastic. It's just you have to, in my opinion, you play an aspected mage like a different archetype, right? You're playing a street sam, you're playing a face, whatever archetype you want, and then you also have a little magic in whichever flavor you want. So don't think of them like I want to be a mage. Think of them like I want to be this, and I also want to have a little magic.
There was some debate a while back where we were debating the actual use of playing an aspected mage. I know there was a lot of talk about that with this book. That wasn't my chapter, but you're a fly on the wall for a lot of it.
Yeah, and there is in Forbidden Arcana some additional stuff for aspected, but I mean, like
incentive for it, really.
Yeah, some incentive.
There's some things that only you can do if you took the time. Look, we stopped trying to think of it like an aspected mage is just a full mage with a handicap. We tried to make it it's somebody who focused.
Yeah, and it's somebody
benefits.
else, right? It's somebody who has a normal day job, and then you also have a little bit of magic.
Or
So
somebody who just focuses on one thing. Like,
yeah, or you're specialized. You're
I
yeah.
mean, you guys have read Crimson, I
yeah.
think. Red's got that niece, Giselle, who
Yeah.
is like a spirit negotiator.
Yeah. That'd be a perfect thing for like an aspected mage.
Yeah. If she can cast spells, I never even figured out if that was the case, but she can do stuff with spirits that other people don't even think about. She can talk to your familiar, and your familiar is being a little too polite to her, and you're just like, whose side are you on? And they're like, well.
And it doesn't come up enough in mechanics, but that's one of the reasons that you have charisma tradition mages, right? You should be talking to your spirits and negotiating with them, and so aspected is even better for them because you can summon and just banish and do all that, but you also have then the skill points for social skills. So aspected D, take that, build whatever you want, and you too have some cool magic abilities. It's fantastic. It takes some getting used to. It's fantastic.
I've also
Why
noticed
aspected D? Because if you can put the special points into your magic and stuff, spells are easy to learn, so there's no reason not to go after like D.
Yeah, I mean,
You like
I'm always
higher?
thinking,
I like D.
I'm always thinking in universe. So the idea of a spell being easy to learn is like
fair enough.
From a paperwork perspective,
thematically,
$5,000
there's reason to
for
spin
Dawn.
aspected higher, but mechanically aspected D go all the way and learn the rest of the stuff in game.
Sure, but I mean, if you're a Shadowrunner who really just wants to learn to make things go boom with magic, play an aspected mage by all means. You can
or if you
a
normally
weapon
play
specialist.
if they want to play Street Sams, you want to ease into magic, then pick one of the three, learn that category, and then learn the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm back.
All right.
My wife just came home, so we should be good for the rest of the episode.
Promises.
Yeah, right.
The best laid plans of mice and men, my friend.
All right, so I'm gonna mark us back in and then roll on.
So y'all want to talk about blood magic?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
blood magic.
let's do that. I know that was.
Kids ever want to make magic with blood?
So that was a big new thing, and Kevin, I know that was your big contribution to this, right?
That was me and Alex, and I wrote some short fiction in there too. But that was me and Alex. That was our big thing to do.
Right off the bat, my two biggest thoughts were first that oaths seem pretty cool. And oaths were like a way that you can connect yourself to someone with blood magic, and you can be doing blood magic stuff and have the person you're connected to that you've made a blood oath with, they take the drain from your blood casting, and but also I thought, and we'll talk about it, blood crystals seem weird. But let's get to that. First, blood magic has always been the realm of just plain, if you're practicing blood magic, you're evil, right?
You're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen characters use blood magic in a non-evil way, but it's always been like really rare, really like it's always been like some immortal elf or a great dragon that can do blood magic and not seem to be evil. If, poor mere mortals try to use it, it blows up your aura.
Right.
Yeah, which is hard because traditions are often based off religion, right? So the Norse tradition, even scourging and the Christian tradition, all of that stuff would kind of have aspects of blood magic. So,
which was something that, Alex and I looked at each other and went, "Oh man, we can use that."
Right. So blood magic obviously is a thing that people can use now. You don't have to be evil to do it. In fact, there's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of fluff that's written about how it can be done selflessly and how it can be done.
That you sacrifice your own self.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, some
Kevin.
fan asked me, "Wait, are you telling me it's like the Force?" And I went, "Yeah, go with that."
Sure.
The first thing
I thought of was like,
even if self-sacrificing doesn't still taint your aura.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Your aura is tainted with blood.
Right.
That's just a fact. But so I mean that's something I tried to put in the fluff where it's like you can be a benevolent blood mage, you still register as a blood mage, and the law doesn't recognize
Sure.
the difference
How you're
between
using it. Yeah.
I mean if you're cutting on yourself to heal the sick, I mean that's very noble, but that's also very illegal.
Right.
That's dangerous magic you're using. And the fact is, once you've learned how to use sacrificial meta magic, you have opened yourself to a whole realm of temptation that is highly addictive.
Right. Right.
You use blood magic for anything other than the most benevolent of purposes, and you're making a relatively tough addiction check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of there being safe blood magic, that's like, you're going to sink a lot of karma into being able to cast some spells a bit better once in a blue moon on a very few people based on circumstances that are pretty benevolent, which seems kind of useless. But then again, this is Shadowrun. If I made risk-free blood magic,
Right.
what's
Right.
the point?
One of the first things I thought of when I started thinking about it from this benevolent perspective, you know, like you're sacrificing your own essence, your own blood, you know, to help another. The first thing I thought of was like this, that it would create really interesting and cool roleplay character concepts that are really interesting to roleplay. And I thought of like a blood paladin.
Yep.
You know, like someone who is, you know, like maybe even, you know, not like your typical paladin who is, you know, like a martial but, you know, holy you know, person, but like this paladin who gives themselves to others, wants to protect other people, but does it in like a vengeful kind of like visceral way, you know. And
Yep.
I thought like, man, because I want to make that character now. But I think you're right that it's like if you're gonna play the blood magic user who is coming at it from that perspective, like you gotta remember that this is risky, not just legally, not just like, you know, people trying to hunt you down for various reasons, corporations, as technology, all that kind of stuff, but like you are risking your soul, your essence, you know, like yourself, and every time you do that, every time you give some of your blood to help someone else, to heal someone, to stabilize someone, bring them back from the brink of death, then you are like staring, you know, blood magic, the abyss, in the face, you know. Like, and you might not come back each time you do it. So
And that the taint of blood magic, you know, if it fades, it's going to take a while to happen.
right.
So you've taken that on yourself. That's your life now.
I just love that the door has been opened up to such a complex character, you know, concept. So.
Well, you know, you read about these fantastic characters, and again, like Star Wars, where it's like, you know, you have the power to save them. Why don't you just use it? And there's all these justifications that we use. I thought about a character who's like a drug addict who uses, like, you know, amper drugs to become like really freaking strong. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I could save them if I just shot up. It's like, no, you're supposed to be quitting. But you know, if I get my fix, I'll be strong enough to save them. And you show up and you're all like, you know, bam, bam, bam. They're like, hey, you saved us. Oh God. No. It's like, it's too late. It's too late, you know. And if it's blood magic, I mean, let's bear in mind that the addiction to use blood magic makes you inherently less benevolent. Your addiction is not just, I want to use blood magic, it's, I want a better rush. I want to use it more often, and the circumstances that are safest to use it don't come up often enough to feed the addiction. After a while, you're cutting the heads off kittens and devil rats because you just want to feel the rush. You know, you're picking fights with people so that you can kill them. And soon, you're just killing them.
So just a quick, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this question that I have, but it just popped into my head. Quick mechanical question. I know that there's a quality that makes you resistant to, or makes you more likely to succeed in addiction tests. Does that apply to this, or is that just drugs?
Was that it works if you work it?
I don't remember what it's called, but I know that it exists.
Yeah, that'll help. but bear in mind that your addiction ratings are, I mean, they compile over time.
Sure. Yeah.
You can only beat the odds so many times.
Right. Well, absolutely,
So,
you're right.
Yeah, that'll help.
Let's talk
It
about,
won't
because
save you,
there's a
though.
ton of stuff in this book, and I want to be able to touch on a little bit of some other
Sorry
things.
with that. I would say the biggest thing that really balances blood magic was all the whole fluff about bounty hunters. That's your
Oh, yeah,
massive. Don't skip over that because that was fantastic fodder for
Thank
runs
you.
and stuff like that. And hey, you're using this. Now bounty hunter shut up and you got to deal with that. Like a team probably.
And it's not just specifically a team.
Yeah.
There's such a great payout for blood mages that they pay informants very well.
Yep.
And right there, you've got a network of people who've got their eyes open. Plus, the stigma of blood mages is that, wait a minute, this guy's gone, as far as I know, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He's using evil magic. Sooner or later, he's going to slice me open. It's a lot like the infected, which is probably why I got the chapter. And and it's like, really, I'm going to have to kill him. And if I have to kill him, I might as well get paid. And if I'm going to get paid, I might as well. And that's how it goes.
Right.
You can't just be like, oh, it's a little secret. My friends will never know. How many times can you slash your wrist open and blood starts flying everywhere? And the spells that we came up with, like, corpse bomb and blood tentacles.
They're just subtle spells, corpse explosion and
yeah, big like icicle spikes of blood coming out, all like John Carpenter stuff.
I just liked corpse explosion as I was thinking of it as more of a like this is the GM telling you to stop being a murder hobo, right? You're now fighting a blood mage and you're being a murderer. No, all the victims are dead. Now they're just blowing up around you.
but we also put that there for NPC type characters because hunting blood mages, like I said, is good money.
Yeah.
And more often than not, you really are putting down somebody who's powered by murder.
Yeah.
To quote my favorite game reviewer. So it's that's kind of almost Pink Mohawkish because this dude's just gonna be like, everybody in the room die, and then he goes starts turning them into landmines.
Right.
Or turns them into like squiggling tentacles that are coming out and pulling you onto spikes and stuff. We wanted to make it freaky. We wanted to make blood magic creepy and scary.
Well, it definitely feels that way. And one thing that I think is really strange that you've introduced, and I still haven't decided how I feel about it yet, is a totally new thing called blood crystals, right?
Good.
Blood crystals, again, for people who might not have read the book, blood crystals are this new thing. It's kind of, it's a little different. They're these new things that have been popping up places, very difficult to find. No one's actually sure where they come from, and when you do get one, you don't even know where you got it from because of who knows why. Somehow your memory gets wiped, and nobody knows why because your memory's wiped. But they're these crystals that when you lose a limb, or there's other uses for them, but the most obvious first way to talk about it is if you lose a limb, you can use these blood crystals and put them where the lost limb was, and it'll regrow that limb. It's almost like safer cyberware for magic users, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say safer because it doesn't give you, it doesn't protect you from essence loss, but it does protect you from magic loss, your magic attribute.
Yep, it technically preserves your aura, so that your magic is not gone. You can't. Alex and I went back and forth on a lot of the technical parts of the rules about some things, and one of them was he was like, "Well, it doesn't cost essence." I'm like, "That's not gonna work. It's got to cost essence. Just don't make it hurt their magic."
I will say that was a good call. If you had made it so it didn't cost essence, then I would be saying right now, no, this isn't going to be in my game because this is
everybody's gonna get it. Yeah.
That was good.
There's a lot of, Alex really wanted to make this, and I'm glad he did. It is not out of the blue. It is based on stuff other people have written, so it's been hinted at. You will see more of it, and you will see more things come of it. I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I think that's. I think you guys have hinted as much in the writing about it because you've made it very mysterious, and very, like nobody knows where it's written about this way. This thing, these blood crystals have popped up out of nowhere. No one knows where they come from. Very few people have them, and when they do have them, they have no idea how they got them. And it's weird. And that's basically like the way it's written about. This is this weird thing, but we know it exists, and let's tell everybody about it because that's what we do on Checkpoint. Is talk about stuff so people know about it. So it's very, very. I think as it plays out and as I settle it in and maybe try to perhaps incorporate it into games of my own and stuff like that, I think I'll be able to talk more about how I feel about it. But right now it's like I can't decide how I feel about it. Well, let me say from fluff and narrative perspective and like from intrigue perspective and how the story goes in Shadowrun, it's really enticing and seems really cool. So my apprehension is about it mechanically. I don't know how I feel about it that way yet.
I'm not sure how much we went into this. I hinted at it in the Shadow Talk. There is a price to be paid. And Alex wanted to include something, and I'm like, no, not yet.
Sure.
He goes, why not? I'm like, and not to give too much away here, but because it's not the same situation. But I was like, did they just say Universal Brotherhood is bad? It's like, no. I'm like, did they just say tempo is bad? No. Did they say, that's a lot of these things when they first show up, it's like, hey, this sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that because
you can basically sell Jason on anything as long as you say everything has a price,
right?
And then back it up.
As long as you spit that tagline back at him.
We were like, there's a price, and he's like, all right. So yeah, there's a price.
Well, cool.
And it's so use it carefully.
Yeah,
I don't know how we're doing on time, but I feel like there's one thing we really need to talk about before we leave, and that's the magic masteries, right? Because that's a new thing that was really cool. It's essentially how to give your mage a career, like a focused career, right? Instead of touching on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about that, and we'll close with what my favorure part was, and I have a question about that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we didn't get to that. If we,
it's all right. It's the price of fatherhood.
All right. I talked all about the book.
Yeah. So, but no, you're right.
We've already covered everything.
We've covered. Episode's over. I missed it. No,
See you next week, kids. This is Cassie and Kevin signing off with special guest.
But let's talk about. You're right. Let's talk about magic mastery because we need to cover the big points about the book, and that was a big thing.
That was something that really added something kind of new that's not in 5th edition.
I consider it the heart of the book, personally.
Yeah. So the magic masteries are qualities you can take. They don't double in price whenever you go to buy them in play, so they're always a flat price. And the reason, partly for that, is because they have very specific requirements. You need certain magics or skills or training or something else to take those to begin with. And then they kind of give you a very niche. Like one of my favorites is the spirit hunter, right? Like it's somebody who essentially can hunt and deal with spirits really easy. But you have to have the qualities to get up to that.
Right.
So
and to be clear, to clarify, the magic masteries are kind of like ways to specialize in your magic.
Yeah, like
magic
a profession
character.
in your magic.
Yeah. So there's things like some of the ones that I thought were really interesting were like the reckless spellmaster, which is basically someone who has specialized in their training and the way that they do things, that they just toss out spells recklessly left and right here because it gives you benefits to allow you to more easily recklessly cast spells.
I should have just called it the street mage.
That's a good way to think of it. What's the one? There's a really, really cool one. I loved it because a lot of these had Arcana in them, which is fantastic because it's a skill that most people ignore except for when they need to initiate, right? So I love that was a requirement for a lot of them. But there was one that had a lot of crazy requirements for it, but if you got it, you essentially, I think, for an edge or something, you could cast any spell.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about? What is that one? That one was fantastic.
There's something about improvising.
Yeah, I'm trying to roll it up really quick now and find
the arcane improviser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get, but it was super cool
Yeah, it
because
has
you can essentially then
a ton of skill requirements that you have to have. So as Cassie's kind of said and sort of hinting at further, that every one of these has requirements for you to have them. So they might be, you have to have like this arcane improviser, you have to have a spellcasting skill of 6, a counterspelling skill of 6, an arcana skill of 7, and 4 spells.
With a spell specialization.
Yeah, Arcana with specialization of spell design, and on top of all of that, those are high level skills. On top of all of that, you have to have 4 spells that you know from each spell category. So what's that, like 20 spells?
Yeah, and this one's a good one, is that some of these, like this one, the Arcane Improviser, have a tradition associated with them. And you can learn it without the tradition, but if you have that tradition, you get a bonus. It makes it a little bit easier to do. Is a discount, basically. And that one is Chaos for the Arcane Improviser, which I think is really cool.
But since we're using this one,
Chaos Mages.
Yeah, since we're using this one as an example, it's a really good example, Cassie, because it kind of illustrates what I feel like these magic masteries are all about, which is the idea here is that you know a lot about spellcasting, you have a high arcana skill, you've got a lot of skill with it, you have this, you're sort of this chaos bent, and you also know all these different types of spells, so it's like obviously you've got a lot of experience doing all kinds of magic. So guess what, if you then decide to take this mastery, as Cassie implied, you can then spend a point of edge to cast any spell, period, like that, that you don't have to know it, you just cast it. And I think there are some further limitations on how often you can do that, but it's like supposed to be like you've got so much experience and knowledge in spellcasting, like you can just like whip up these random spell effects out of nowhere. You're pulling mana from everywhere and just doing it,
And that's why I like the requirements. I mean, if you were going to be able to like improvise all this stuff, you need a lot of working knowledge of different stuff, and the Arcana to actually figure out how they all join together and work out the things in between. I thought that made a lot of sense.
It was great for like a game system that doesn't have like classes like D&D or something does, that it gives you a reason kind of in character and mechanically to kind of more specialize versus just the world's yours. And there are some ones a little easier, like there's Arcane Bodyguard, and that's just some ranks and counter spelling, right? It's all you need. You probably were going to take those maybe anyway if you're a sorcerer, so it's not a big addition. But then there are some really cool ones like that Arcane Improviser that have all types of stuff.
Yeah, there's some cool ones in here that lend toward that paladin concept that I had too. So
there was a lot of debate during the like initial thing. Some guys wanted to make it a little more class-like. Mm-hmm. And some dudes wanted to be like, no, let's have more of a tech tree type thing.
Yeah.
And it everybody got what they wanted in the end, which was really cool, because at first we're like, oh god, we really don't want shamans and mages to be like completely different classes, but we do want to reward people for pursuing a certain path,
Yeah.
Because a lot of mages, it's like, well, now I'm a mage, I might as well collect all the initiate meta magics and get as many spells as I can, and it's a day. This actually gives them something to strive for, sort of, for lack of a better word, prestige classes, because these are specialized enough that you can't catch them all. And,
right.
And a lot of them kind of, thematically, some of them clash, and some of them, a fair number of them actually come with like sort of detriments along with the benefits.
Yeah.
It's like, you may be awesome at throwing fireballs, but now spirits are like, oh, so that's I love that.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
I think the watchword that everybody followed was, we want to let everybody be themselves more.
Yeah, if you want to make that that spell
blood paladin.
That blood paladin, like that I've been talking about. If you want to make that spell breaker type, who there's masteries for that. Like I think there's spell jammer in there that makes it so that you're just really good at stopping people from casting spells.
I know a few of the freelancers are really proud of that one.
Yeah, there's just
It was
cool.
like, maybe I don't want to cast spells. Maybe I just want to screw up your spells.
Right.
That's the entire thing you can make with the null wizard and all that.
Yep.
Like that's cool.
Yeah. Man, corporations are going to be more excited about null wizards than actual wizards.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Oh God. Ha ha ha. So yeah.
And there's lots of cool stuff from that chapter, and I think some of it we're gonna have to talk about in the after party, because there's some spells in there and some rituals that I wanted to.
And we didn't even talk about necromancers.
Oh yeah, for real, seriously, there's so much to this book.
You guys didn't ask about elder gods?
We didn't talk about it. We might have to do a section completely just on like necromancy and or the planar stuff.
Because
like we could do entire episodes about that.
Elder gods is so important, and you didn't even bring it up, and I'm kind of shocked.
Well,
we did stop to start the episode like 3 times. We'll come back.
The old school fans will lose it.
Well, special
right.
topic episodes we do all the time, so we should definitely do one about that. But before we conclude the show and start our after party, I did want to mention my favorite part of the book was the I think it was called what was it called? Something about wild stuff. Breath of
you mean
where
the
wild
wild
things
spirits?
Are.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the wild spirits that I liked, because that frustrated me. But I liked the end of that chapter. I liked a lot. First of all, I liked the tone of the chapter. Elijah is one of my favorite characters in the world of Shadowrun, just because I have sort of like I'm a sciencey person. I enjoy science, and I've played a mage for a long time, and my approach to a mage in Shadowrun has always been very academic, and so I appreciate that there's a character that speaks to me in that way. But I love that he talked a ton about universal magical theory, which is kind of like this. I think about it as sort of like in modern day there's this attempt to find a unified theory of physics, right? That binds everything together. That's kind of like what universal magical theory is. I mean, talked a lot about that, but to get straight to the point, at the end of that chapter, there's like this huge bomb that happens where Elijah. I don't know how spoilery I should be about it. Should I, Cassie? I mean, maybe we should wait.
Go for it. No, I don't think there should be spoilers. You're
Ladies
reading
and
this.
gentlemen, if you have not read Forbidden Arcana, you may wish to turn off your microphones and headphones at this time.
Yeah, what do we say? So you've got, if you don't want to be spoiled, come back in like 5 minutes, or just, it's the end of the episode.
Just shut it off. Yeah, just shut off.
So see you guys. Check out the website.
It's fantastic.
Done. So he reveals that he was out in, I think somewhere out in South America, and he was doing a lot of research on this crazy stuff that's been happening in magic, and he decided that there is how do you pronounce that? Fovea?
Favre?
It's kind of like a magical void in astral space, but they're different than a mana void because these things are like, they suck magic in. And
yeah, they're coming Streaker more.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it because Rusty said it's Tyr Terrangyre, so everything I know is a lie.
Our position here on the Sixth World Podcast is that you can pronounce anything any way you want. So
yeah, so Fove.
So the Fovey,
sure,
out there, and it sucks magic in. It's not like a magical void. It's not a dearth of magic per se.
It's magic on its skin and it gets the hose.
It's sucking magic in. So anyway,
the interesting point. Get to it.
The interesting point is that Elijah decided that in pursuit of knowledge about magic, he had to, go check it out.
He was poking it with a stick.
Yeah,
and
basically.
And then he flew into it.
He flew a little bit too close, which you're not supposed to do because it sucks magic in really heavily, and he got sucked into it. And as far as we know, he's the only person that's ever done this, or at least lived to tell about it. And he talked about a lot of crazy stuff that was in there. Talked about he talked about a chasm between our existence and something else, and that there was something over there that was beckoning him and calling him to help, to beckoning him to help repair a bridge between realms so that they could come over to our realm. And he talked about it, saying that it's definitely a different source of magic. So a lot of people talk about how magic all comes from a singular source.
Come on, Bobby.
And
what did they reference?
I'm not huge into the if you're talking about if you're talking about Earth Dawn.
No.
I'm not talking about
because that's what
Earth
it made
Dawn,
me.
Bobby.
That's what I thought of, and that's why I described it.
I'm talking about a published Shadowrun book.
Yeah, it's in 2nd edition. I bought it because this is where Columbia, Missouri is mentioned in this book.
Well, I'm not. Admittedly, I'm not as up on the lore as I. So Cassie, tell me what I'm supposed to know.
Let me give it a little more dramatic stuff. Elijah flies into this thing and starts freaking out, and people start trying to, a voice or something, starts to be like, hey, if you'll just repair this bridge we got here, just a little, we'll give you all the things. And he starts like freaking out, and then what? Hespe, Aaron the Scribe, Harlequin, maybe Frosty, all log in suddenly to Jack Point to have like an intervention of like, what did you see?
Right,
and
it's very dramatic in this at the end of this chapter.
Fantastic written. I definitely go read it. But essentially, it sounds like and you can correct me. I believe Harlequin's Adventure in 2nd edition, you go into the Manosphere to try to stop the horrors from coming over. And potentially that bridge is now being rebuilt, and that's what Elijah saw.
I have 2 things to say about this.
Yeah.
One, you really need to have Dylan on the show, because I believe he wrote that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of it because there was that look at your shoes, think of your shoes.
Yeah.
He loves using shoes as a magical metaphor. So the moment I read that, I was like, well, that's Dylan. The second thing is
the official Catalyst line is that you cannot use the term horrors with an uppercase H.
Okay, so essentially something happened, and Elijah saw something that caused a great dragon, 2 immortal elves, and for other people to flip the fuck out.
Yeah. And they told everybody to go ahead and log off, that they were going to find Elijah and make sure he was okay, and that he needed to stop thinking about it because it was seriously, like, straight up legitimately dangerous for him to even be thinking about it right now.
I don't think it happened, but I like to picture all the great dragons in human form and the immortal elves, and they've all just set aside their ages-old vendetta, and they're just bringing him cocoa. Okay, buddy.
Right, just calm down.
Okay, Hestebe's wearing her fuzzy sweater looking Harlequin. Harlequin's like not cracking jokes, just going,
So
you okay?
So like I said, we are running late on time and everything. So that was my favorite part. That's all I wanted to say. It was amazingly, it was like exciting, to read about. And
it like gave me like my skin crawled, right? Like, ooh,
right.
What is? Oh no! That'd be fantastic. So I'm hoping that's the intro from 5th to 6th will be something related to that, right?
That would be nuts. So yeah, that was that, and yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Where's the thing that I always? Here we go. Okay, so that music, of course, means that we're at the end of the show proper. I've got a lot of editing to do this time. I normally have no editing to do, but c'est la vie. This book, I definitely have some criticisms. I think there are a lot of things in there that make the GM in me, who is loath to do bookkeeping and paperwork, rear his head and say, get rid of this. I don't want to deal with this, because
it was a struggle for me to get through the first half of the book because it's a lot of crunch. But it's worth it.
Things like, wild index and reputation and all that kind of stuff. I don't like keeping track. I love
spirit reputation so much.
And if you do love it, you're going to love these parts of the book because there's a lot more there. But I find it annoying.
You don't have to play with every book. Draw a line.
I know. And, I'd love to do a whole episode talking about that and why I don't like that argument. But we're at the end of the episode. So, Get the book. It's really good regardless. There's a ton of stuff in there.
Forbidden Arcana is the name of the book.
Yes,
in case you
thank you.
forgot at the end of the episode.
Because it is a long one this time. The Forbidden Arcana, it's good. It's good. I liked a lot of the stuff, as you can tell. Kevin, do you have anything that you want to plug before we go? We always give our guests opportunities to do that.
Right now we're working on a new book, so keep your eyes open because it's going to be the scary one.
Ooh.
The scary book.
Nice.
Scary book. I like it. I dig it. I'm all for that.
Years ago, Jason said, "What do you bring to Shadowrun?" I gave him a list of things, and he said, "You might be good for," and is now happening.
All right.
Oh, we didn't mention that in Forbidden Arcana. You can possibly make spirit packs with Shadims.
Spirit.
Yeah,
Oh
good
yeah, spirit packs with Shadims.
Yes, you can.
It was kind of like it mentioned very briefly, but it's in there. Cassie, do you have anything that you want to plug before you go?
No. Our Six World. No, that's where we're at. On Twitter, twitter.com/emeraldsgrid. I post lots of random facts and hopefully plot hooks and interesting things about Shadowrun. We talk about Shadowrun lore. Go check that out.
Yes, do it. It's always fun. I, of course, am your other host, your co-host, Bobby. I don't have anything really to plug lately. GM Screen is always going on, so check out GM Screen on YouTube. It's fun. If you want to contact us on the show, you can do it at Twitter at the number 6 World Podcast. The show at 6worldpodcast.com is our email address, and of course our website is 6worldpodcast.com. Our outro music, which you're about to hear, is done by Johnny Nuclear and the Meltdowns. Our logo artwork is David McDermott. You can find him at 6worlddesigns.tumblr.com. If you're listening live, then stick around because we're going to talk some more about some stuff in the after party here before we go. But the show proper, that's it. So from me, Cassie, and Kevin here, say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
До свидания.
When the days have gone dark and the sky's turning gray, everybody in the world, they're just staying enslaved. The technology's machines, we just feast for the screen. Lost in reality, can't find peace in your dreams. Society sodomized by the lies and the greed.
All right, stopping and starting the stream.